UFC 307 is in the books. Alex Periera knocked out Khalil Rountree in the main event. Overall, wild card from top to bottom. We had some interesting decisions. Khalil Rountree with the champion or the heart of a champion, but Alex Periera, the power was absolutely too much. We're going to get all into it. You guys get comfortable. Make sure, first of all, like the video. Make sure you're following us here at Fight Bananas. We take care of you guys right here. We had the watch along with Dave and everybody else just going on. So make sure you hop in. Make sure you hop in the comments. It's just me tonight riding out solo. So make sure you guys jump in as well. But yeah, Alex Periera versus Khalil Rountree in the main event. This was a fight that a lot of people, were looking forward to just because Alex Periera, of course, super active champion, 3 defenses in 280 something days. Jack McGraw saying Shama, the chance of Shama by Alex Periera after the fight. He's become such a character. We saw the memes this week, the interviews that he's doing. I think Alex Periera is just becoming even more of a superstar. DC highlighted it before we get too much into the fight. DC highlighted it after the main event was over. Alex Periera, he was able to get a quicker shot to the main event because of his history with Israel Adesanya. But past that point, he was able to make it past that and now carved out even a new path for himself and legitimize himself even more to what his past was. It wasn't just tied to Izzy at that point. Now he's won light heavyweight, defended the belt multiple times as well in dominant fashion, right? And if you want to talk about tonight, super dominant when it comes down to the end. But overall, Khalil Rountree had a really good showing. For, I think, 2 out of the 3 scorecards going into the fourth, Khalil Rountree was up 2-1. And that's actually how I had it as well. I felt like he was a little more active in the first round. You saw that he was using a lot of that explosiveness and using a lot of that burst to try to close the distance for that disadvantage he had with the reach. And with with most of the first round and a little bit of the second round, he was able to do that pretty well. But once the explosiveness, got tired, you're at elevation out there in Utah. He wasn't able to do the same amount of explosiveness. And Alex Pereira, props to him as well, chopping the leg down, just making it a slow burn to it. Sean Sterling saying, "Where is everyone? I'm solo tonight. Blake is out. Johan had some internet troubles. Of course, everybody else was in the watch along. So I'm solo tonight, Sean. You and me, brother. Just hop in the comments like you always do. We keep it rolling right here. But yeah, Khalil Rountree was just showing a lot of heart overall, even in the fourth round before he got knocked out. The amount of damage that this man took before he actually got knocked out, insane. The right eye, right eye for Khalil, being that he's southpaw, was busted up, not just on the top, but at the bottom as well. And at the end, it was a 2 body shots with an uppercut that was able to put him down, and that was it from there. But Khalil Rountree, even in defeat, super grateful, super humble, getting the adoration of the crowd. So definitely want to give the props to him. But for Alex Pereira, I mean, you can look at the damage tree that we have right here. The total strike, or just significant strikes, doubled up, with a lot of that being in the fourth round. If you guys look right here, if I'm going to actually zoom in a little bit for you guys, see if we can get that going. Yeah, in the fourth round, significant strikes, 63 of 92 in that fourth round. If you guys see that right here. Of course, first couple rounds were a lot closer, right? Alex was definitely getting the land in that second round as well. Something that Khalil Rountree did. He actually hurt Alex. Alex threw a high kick as he was returning on the spin. Khalil caught him with a hook, actually dropped him, and then at the end of the round, hurt him as well with another high kick. Actually, I shouldn't say hurt him because Alex Pereira just ate that high kick. But as you can see, competitive fight through the first 3 rounds. Khalil was definitely more or less accurate, but it was the explosiveness and the activity that really showed out for those first couple of rounds. But then you saw him start to fall. Alex start to pick up the pace. And then from there, the differential was crazy, right? 63 of 92, shooting 68% from the field in basketball terms, right? And Khalil Rountree, even in defeat, even when he was up against the cage, he was still swinging, caught Alex with a couple here or there. But at the end of the night, that was it for Alex Pereira, and he was able to pick up the win. But now the next question is, what is next for him, right? It was very interesting to me that he said he didn't want to take the spot away from Sean Strickland. Sean Sterling's getting in my mind right now. Sean Strickland. He didn't want to take the spot away from his training partner, Sean Strickland, saying that he potentially is up next for Dricus du Plessis. So does he stay here? Is Magomed Ankalaev the next competitor for him? Does he go up to heavyweight? Obviously, I feel like heavyweight right now, it's too crowded at the top for him to go do anything. You don't want your champ to go up to heavyweight for a non-title fight, right? You don't want him to go up there, lose to a, Curtis Blades that is an excellent, takedown artist and is able to kind of hold him down for a couple rounds and just make your champion look weak, right? The only person you want your champion to lose if he's going up a weight class is to another champion, right? So whether it is John Jones, Stipe, or, whether it's Tom Aspinall, right? Maybe that's something that's further down the line. But I think what we saw from tonight after the fight from Alex Periera is him kind of being content at staying at 205 and potentially being a dominant champion at 205, which we haven't seen a dominant champion at 205 since the likes of John Jones. And Alex Periera carving a name to superstardom. He's absolutely destroying or passing every test, right? He was challenged tonight by Khalil Roundtree, and he passed the test. It wasn't flying colors, right? Even the with the stamina of himself, he talked about it after the fight was well. But co-main event, hopping right into that one. Actually, I want to get into some of these comments real quick. Sean Sterling saying he had Pereira up 2-1, mainly because he had champ and he could feel Alex coming along. Definitely could feel you on that as well. First round's a toss-up. Second round, he got dropped, so tough for me to just say that one. Jack McGraw saying, I thought Pereira would fade every round, but he just got stronger and stronger. Absolute beast. I thought the same thing, especially I think it was in the third round that Khalil Roundtree hurt him not hurt him, but he hit him with a body kick, and Alex just kind of backed up to the fence and just kind of sat there for a second. So that was very interesting. I thought Pereira, just with the size, would fade a little bit more. Obviously, not being at 185, not having to cut so much weight, he's showing the endurance and the stamina. And Sean staying, love the brothership between him and Strickland. Yeah, it's interesting, right? He goes, he knocks him out, and I think kind of knocks some sense into him when it comes to actually how to fight a little bit better, right? He actually made Sean Strickland, in a way, a better fighter, and made Sean Strickland the UFC champion in some way, right? Because he showed him maybe what not to do in a little bit way and was able to be his training partner and take him to another level to it. So you're even seeing the Alex Periera learning tree starting to branch off with guys like Sean Strickland, Levi Lindsay saying, and still the champion, still Shama. Alex Periera is still him when it comes to the 205. So let's get into this bantamweight title fight. And interesting one, to say the least. A lot of people were questioning the decision, myself included. The first round, that's the round that would be the one that would be in question for me, because I think rounds 2 and 3 were very easily Juliana Pena's, right? She was able to take her down, able to get the mount, even though in the second round, she didn't really do too much damage. In the third round, she actually picked it up. She was getting some nice damage on top, and Raquel Pennington had nothing for her on the ground. If we're being honest, she really just wasn't able to do much from there. In the third round, or in the fourth round, this is when Raquel Pennington got the first knockdown in her 15-fight UFC career with a beautiful right hook, puts Juliana on her butt, and wasn't able to get the finish, clinches up, which was a questionable decision. You don't want to maybe clinch up with a submission artist or someone that knows to grapple to allow themselves to recover, but she does allow Juliana to recover. But in the fifth round, it just seemed like Juliana was absolutely gassed, had nothing for her offensively. Raquel Pennington was the one that was pushing the pace. So when it comes to the fight, I think the first round is really what it comes down to. And actually, let's look at some of those numbers for the first round, since we got the UFC stats right here. So per round. So first round, I mean, if you're looking at it, 25-59, obviously the numbers don't always tell the full story, right? But for Juliana Pena, 25 of 59, and Rocky 17 of 60. Obviously, Rocky was a little bit more crisp with her strikes, but Juliana was very active in that first round as well. I think she was going to the well with the jab a lot. She trained with or trained around with Bilal a lot. Obviously, Bilal was using that jab in the title fight too, but that first round could have very well gone to Juliana. So maybe she got the first 3 rounds. Rocky got the last 2. I can see that world now just looking back at it, right? But I just think in my mind, just from the eye test and what I had written down in my notes, I did have a 2-2. I'm curious what you guys think in the comments. Did you guys have a 2-2 as well going into the fourth? Did you have Juliana winning the fight, or did you have Raquel Pennington winning that? I think that Sean Sterling has a little bit of a point here, right? This was something that I was actually looking forward to myself, the heat between Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison. And both fighters got tested tonight. Now, did both fighters really win their fight? I think it's too close to call. Juliana Pena, when it's a fight this close, and I think when round one is really the round in question that's that close, I think the recency bias of round 2 to 4, seeing Juliana fade, seeing her get knocked down, that makes you think, okay, Rocky won the fight. But I can see where in the first round, just not looking at the recency bias, maybe where Juliana was the more active fighter with what she landed as well. So, but yeah, Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison have been going at it. But what was interesting to me after the fight, Juliana didn't even call for Kayla Harrison, which would make the most sense, especially with what they were going through. She calls for Amanda Nunes to come back. And for what? I mean, she says it would be the biggest rematch or the biggest trilogy in female bantamweight history. I would beg to differ. I mean, the first fight, it was a classic, Sean Strickland versus Alex Adesanya, Israel Adesanya on that side of things, right? It was, you caught me because I guess, you overlooked him, right? And I think everybody overlooked Juliana Pena in that first fight. We all thought it was a joke, right? But Amanda started to fade, right? She was getting caught with the jabs and the gas tank was going out. She didn't even tap to a full rear naked choke. It was just a neck crank. So she learned from that mistake. And what did she do in the second fight against Juliana Pena? She dropped her about 40 times. And I don't think anybody that's looking forward to seeing a competitive trilogy fight wants to see Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. With all due respect, Amanda Nunes is just on another level, especially when you have someone like Juliana Pena in the 5th round, not even attempting a takedown versus someone who's not that great of a striker versus Raquel Pennington. What happens if you don't go against a take or go for any takedowns against Amanda Nunes in the 5th round if you make it that far, right? Sean Sterling with a great point saying she's obsessed with Amanda. I don't know what's the obsession there. I think Kayla Harrison, when they put this, side by side with Kayla Harrison and Juliana Pena, Kayla was doing the running thing. I think that Juliana is just trying to stay a little more relevant, or maybe she's just trying to rile up Kayla Harrison even more, right? Don't even say her name, right? Don't even mention her as far as who next, right? Joe Rogan is the person that brought it up, but maybe she doesn't bring it up just to say, hey, you're not even a threat to me, because, with everything that Kayla Harrison had tonight, she had some tests herself, right? So I think it's maybe just to play in the heel role a little bit more. Juliana has been trying to play that heel role pretty well. Not pretty well. She's trying to play that heel role. I don't think she's doing it too well, but she's a champ. So what can I say? I'm just some dude sitting with a mic in my hand. So, and the thing is Strickland wouldn't get 50-44 against Izzy. That is true as well. So that's another one as well. But yeah, interesting co-main event. It could have really, not looking back at that first round, potentially could have gone either way. But I did have Raquel Pennington getting the job done, just off my notes there. Now, another fight that could have gone either way, but I think went the wrong way as well. Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Now, this is a tough one for me because Mario Bautista, he started the fight with a lot of activity. He was using a lot of feints, up and down feints, going in and out, throwing in combinations. And, it was a very exciting fight to start off with. And I think in that first round, I actually gave it to Bautista because he was able to land a lot of those. He landed a lot more of the flurries. And I'm curious to actually see the numbers. I didn't look at the numbers for this fight just yet, but he landed a lot more of the flurries in the first round. And, from there, 20 of 53 compared to 13 of 26. And I think for Aldo, he was really trying to download information in that first fight. To me, that's what it seemed like he was doing. Landed some really nice low leg kicks, solid in the boxing, head movement was good. But Aldo was really just taking in the information as Bautista kind of burned himself out. I did give Mario that first round. Now, in the second round, Aldo was really landing some nice shots. Mario's speed was starting to slow down just a little bit. So Aldo's, obviously with the, when it comes to the fight game and it's a game of inches, Aldo was starting to land a little bit more and connect a little bit more. But once he started to land, Bautista started to wrestle. Now, here's where the interesting is. He didn't get any takedowns with the wrestling, And he also wasn't really doing much damage when he was initiating those grappling controls. So that's something that I think maybe has to be more clear when it comes to UFC judging and things of that nature. Because I'm always in the precedent damage comes first. But yes, with that much control, like Sean is saying, I can see it going both ways, right? Definitely with that. But I think with the damage, at least that Aldo had over Bautista, he didn't really even take him down and just laid and controlled on top of him. It was just more him pushing him up against the fence, Aldo being more caught in a stalemate. And for Aldo, he should have tried to disengage and try to create some more space with the fourth or in the third round. But when you're that tired, when you're relentless with the takedown attempts, I mean, looking at the stats, how many takedown attempts? 0 for 10. So 10 takedown attempts for Mario Bautista and 7.5 minutes control. That was all clinch control, right? So it was very interesting to see that one. Close fight as well, right? But I disagree also. Maybe not also, because like I said, looking back at that first fight, my recency bias might have gotten to me. But this is a fight that I felt with Aldo. It felt to seem that he landed the more damaging strikes even in those later rounds. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you gave on that one. I know Sean saying um, gave the third on control, though nothing really happened. So it was a tough third round to score. Now the question is, where does Jose Aldo go from here? Right? I think he was 11th. You just fought the number 10 guy. What does Jose Aldo want next? Does he want to fight someone in the rankings that maybe allows for him to work his way up at some point? Does he feel like he's too far out? Does he want some more maybe money fights? UFC is doing something with boxing. Do we see Jose Aldo in a boxing ring again? I do believe we saw him box before. Couple of different options for him. So I'm very curious to see where he goes from there as well. Now, Roman Delit versus Kevin Holland. Not much to really say there. It was pretty. It was going back and forth. It was just a round, right? Going pretty back and forth. Roman was able to get the takedown. Kevin Holland sprawling, had his arm. It seemed like he overstretched, maybe sprained, popped something with a rib. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see a Kevin Holland fun fight tonight. He was unfortunately at the end of that first round. Roman was on top of him, ground and pound, and Kevin Holland was still talking, trying to still do what he can to keep himself entertaining, but unfortunately wasn't able to have much of a fight there. So not really much to talk about on that one. Ketlen Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. This was actually a pretty solid fight because Kayla Harrison, in the first round when she was able to get the takedown, really solid, right? She was able to get pretty solid control, didn't do too much. But in the second round, Ketlen Vieira started to actually get some of her punches in. She was landing some really nice jabs. She was starting to get her confidence up. She was defending some of the takedowns, like you can see, 2 for 8 on the takedowns there. But it was at the first round and the end of the third round that she got those key takedowns and really secured her that victory. But I think for Kayla Harrison, something that we saw just a little bit more of improvement from the fight against Holly Holm. This was a fight where she was actually tested. I'm going to see if I can pull up the picture of the knot on her forehead. She had a crazy knot on her forehead with an elbow. It was actually 2 elbows that she ate from Ketlen Vieira. And my goodness, I probably can't get that pulled up right now, but oh well. But yeah, and like you're saying, Sean, second round, Ketlen had some really good strikes. That second round was definitely hers. I had it 1-1 going into that third round, and Kayla Harrison pulled it out. I think this was a great test for Kayla Harrison. I mean, Ketlen Vieira, I think, was number 3 or number 2 in the rankings for the bantamweight. So you just beat Holly Holm, one of the best bantamweights of all time, future Hall of Famer, no doubt. You just beat Ketlen Vieira, right? And you've been going back and forth with Juliana Pena. That's the next fight to make. I don't think Amanda Nunes comes back for Juliana Pena. I think if Amanda Nunes is going to come back, she's going to want to come back for a fight that actually interests her, that actually makes her want to train, right? She was steamrolling through most of the division, and she was really not having much of a challenge for most of it. So with somebody like Kayla Harrison, hey, you beat a Juliana Pena, and you maybe do it dominantly. Now you have Amanda Nunes maybe getting that itch to get back in the gym and see what you can do again. And that's when things start to get interesting, because if Kayla Harrison wins a UFC title as well, she's looking at potentially one of the greatest resumes in female combat sports history. When you're talking multiple time gold medalist judoka, multiple time PFL season champion. And if you add a UFC championship to that belt, it would be pretty hard to doubt Kayla Harrison as one of the, not just female, but one of the best combat sports athletes overall with everything that she would have been able to do. Now, is that the next fight that she's going to get? We don't know just yet. But I think that if Kayla Harrison, with what I saw against with Juliana Pena, I would give Kayla Harrison the edge, right? I do think Juliana in that fight, just to kind of give it a little preview, I think she would be dangerous, obviously, right? Just no shit. Dangerous on the ground, right? For any moment when it comes to Kayla Harrison. But I think Kayla's top control and her hips, she's just solid with it all, right? She just has really good top control. If you have someone that's a really good submission artist, like, let's say you have Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is a great submission artist, but even off his back, he's limited to what he can do. And same thing with Juliana Pena. If Kayla Harrison is the one initiating those takedowns, it's going to be a lot harder for Juliana Pena to have any effectiveness on the ground game. We saw tonight with the takedowns that Juliana got, she was greatly effective. She honestly dominated Rocky on the ground when she got it there, but she really didn't get it there much. And on Kayla Harrison's account too, I want to see a little bit more diversity with the takedowns. It's not the PFL, right? Where some of those early regular season fights, you can just get regular hip tosses and, like Lupe Godinez type takedowns, right? You're going to have to start incorporating some single legs, some double legs, and start working on some takedowns off the fence, right? And I think when you start seeing a little bit more of that from Kayla Harrison, I think that's what will elevate her to that champion, not championship status, but maybe to someone that can hold that championship for a long time, right? If you're not just relying just only on your judo, but start mixing in more of that MMA wrestling as well, I think that's where Kayla Harrison could become a dominant champion at, 135 when it comes to that female division. And it's going to be an exciting one, right? The journey, I think 135, even without Amanda Nunes, I did say tonight's event, not going to lie, posted on my Twitter. I was saying tonight's title fight from from Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena, probably the most aura-less main event in history. Like, I can't think of a main event, or not a main event, a title fight with less aura than that one. But it's still interesting now that you have Kayla Harrison on the wake, right? She's still in the shadows lurking, and I think she gets the next title fight. I think she's undeniable at this point with the wins that she's gotten. She's proven herself against a legend and a top-ranked fighter. She has the title fight next. I think for her, it only makes sense. So, and then Sean Stang don't think Amanda's coming back. Yeah, I think it's highly unlikely as well. But never say never, right? You just never know. I mean, Chris Cyborg is still fighting. Super fight against her, and Larissa Pacheco is coming up. So, I mean, maybe there are fights. Not that she's saying Amanda comes back for that, but right, Chris Cyborg is still fighting, and she was around before Amanda Nunes, if my MMA math is correct with that. So maybe never too late for Amanda Nunes. When you have someone with that type of power, it's different, right? When you look at mixed martial arts, you always worry about the speed going before the power. Amanda Nunes didn't really have to worry about her too much using her speed. She really had a lot of the power. Now, her striking obviously was very crisp, but it wasn't necessarily her being the most agile fighter. She was just more imposing her will with everyone she fought. So I think if she wants to come back, she still could right now. I mean, obviously, right now, if she wanted to tonight, she can go and beat Juliana Pena and win the title, right? But it's a matter of, is that challenge enough for her? Is maybe interesting enough to get her back? But, her early striking, like I said, Pena's early striking looked solid. But, man, as that fight got later on and she didn't even want to shoot a takedown in the 5th round, it got a little bit brutal to watch. Not going to lie with that. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see if we get Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena. Is that next? But you want to break down maybe a couple of these prelims, but definitely this one, man, because Joaquin Buckley versus Stephen Thompson, that was a very, very exciting fight. Stephen Thompson was showing Joaquin the old man moves for the latter part of this fight and was keeping him at distance, was able to keep him at bay. Joaquin was able to get a few takedowns, right? Definitely want to give him a credit for mixing up his wrestling, and especially early in the fight, the explosiveness on those takedowns was just on showcase tonight. So Joaquin was continuing to show the development. He's not just an explosive striker, which hint hint that kind of does end the fight, but he showed the takedowns. He showed the mixed martial arts tonight, right? So I think with that, it was just super impressive to see him start to continue to grow as a fighter. And when you take down a legend like that, and you take down someone who has had really good takedown defense for the long time, or for a long part of his career, it just shows that even though he's a little bit older now, you're still continuing to develop. Sean Stang, him knocking out Wonder Boy, very impressive. I want to say, was it either the second or third guy to ever knock Wonder Boy out? I know, what's it called? Anthony Pettis was the first one, but I don't know if there was another one outside of that. I think Joaquin Buckley might have been the second guy to knock out Stephen Thompson. He had him backing up, landed a beautiful, I think, right hook with Stephen Thompson up against the cage, clips him right on the chin. Stephen drops, lands two more follow-up shots, and it was finished, right? So absolutely done there. Joaquin Buckley is going to continue to work his way up the 170-pound rankings. He's someone that started, like you said, after the loss to Kevin Holland, he was able to really grow as a fighter a lot more. He took that loss and he ate it in the chin and continued to grow and become a better and better fighter, and shout out to Joaquin Buckley. Now potentially has a fight within the top 10 of welterweight, and that call out, we'll get to that ref just now, Sean, that call out of Kamaru Usman actually replied on Twitter. So do we see Joaquin Buckley versus Kamaru Usman? What timeline are we in? That's almost a crazy fight to conceptualize in my head. But I mean, Usman replied. Do we see that? I don't know. I would probably say that Usman stays at 185, just to maybe save himself from a little bit of that strenuous weight cut and how big he is. Or if we even see Usman again, I don't know. But it makes more sense than him calling out Conor McGregor like last time. So shout out Joaquin Buckley for the smart knockout, or smart call out, and shout out Joaquin Buckley for the knockout too. Yes, horrible ref. We are going to get to that one because I do actually want to cover that fight too. Shout out, Jasmine Lucindo, Marina Rodriguez. Also a very close fight. Could have gone either way. Hernandez versus Hubbard. I'm not sure how you guys had that fight scored. I was doing some homework when I watched that fight, so I didn't get to see it. Now, this was a fight that the referee was insane for. First off, shout out to Cesar Almeida. That's my guy. We've hung out, not really hung out, but I've met him at a fight. And was able to hang out with him and Shaman after a fight, and just super nice guy overall. And I was super excited to see him get the shot and able to get the win here tonight. And for the fight, it was really, he didn't really get to showcase as much as he wanted to because unfortunately the ref and his fingers, right, got in the way. Right, he was unfortunately used to maybe keeping his fingers, but he was doing a solid job keeping his fingers up. But it was when Ihor got close, he got him poked in the eye, like you said, 4 times. I think the ref only called one of them. So it was definitely, shout out to Ihor because, man, he ate it, took those eye pokes, and he kept going. He actually, luckily, took a nut shot, which allowed him to recover off that eye poke. So that referee was absolutely terrible. I don't think I've seen something. I mean, I've seen a lot of terrible refereeing, a lot of terrible judging. It's MMA. It's happening, right? We'll see that happen every now and then. But the ref was sound to this one, but still want to give a shout out to Caesar. He got the win, was able to get it done. Ryan Spann also versus Ovin St. Prude. Solid fight. He was able to get that guillotine choke, landed a beautiful right hand, followed him up, got that choke. 40's Glass saying, yo, what happened to Kevin Holland? Sprawling off a takedown, had his arm kind of wrapped around Delit's leg, and as he was kind of sprawling, it seemed like he overstretched and maybe popped a rib or hurt his rib in some type of way. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see a Kevin Holland masterclass, as he's become one of my most fun fighters to watch. But he's going to get it going. But tonight's card overall, not too shabby. Not too shabby. I started watching from the early prelims. Solid fights overall. Tisha Pennington versus Carla Esparza. I believe Carla, actually, let's talk about that fight. Carla Esparza hung up the gloves tonight, and Tisha still got the win. A lot of people were saying this was a questionable one too. It was pretty close. It could have gone either way, to be honest with you guys. But Carla Esparza calling it her career, the Cookie Monster. was able to wrap it up. Former champion, I believe. She really was more doing her thing before I was really watching, but shout out to her for a long and prosperous career. Now she's doing a full-time thing as a mom. And Tisha Pennington, solid fight overall. Honestly, like in that third round, that was a quite exciting third round between these two. They were throwing hands, as you can see. Getting it going with that side of things as well. But oh, he was saying he was watching with that. Sean Schilling, Esparza caught W. Yeah, a lot of people were saying that. Tisha was getting booed out the building when she was, she was shouting out, I believe, women's breast cancer, and she was getting booed. So, I mean, crazy move by the audience, but hey, it's a UFC MMA audience. What do you expect? They're brutal. They'll boo you for even something like that. So, Carla, she, for a lot of people, could have got the win. I had her marked down for a win. Two-time champ Carla Esparza. Yeah. I know the last one she had beat Rose Namajunas. I don't remember who she beat for her first title fight, but I believe for Rose Namajunas, she was super dominant, right? Got her to the ground, was able to control her on there. But yeah, long career for her, and I agree with you on that one. Definitely, when it comes to, I believe you're talking about Kevin Holland with that one. I'm excited for that too, overall. But yeah, if you guys have any question or any questions, drop them in the comments real quick. I'll stay live till 35 minutes. We'll keep it here, locked in with you guys. He was saying what happened there with Kevin Holland. I know you said you didn't have any commentary. It was classified as a TKO because of an injury, right? So even if someone gets injured, even though it was when Kevin Holland went to the stool, his corner was asking him, like, hey, can you fight? Kev was like, I don't know. And I think that was a very smart thing by his corner was to call off the fight. Because, if your fighter is saying, I don't know, if they can fight by any means, they'll say yes. Kevin Holland, if he could have gone, he would have gone on. He fought Wonder Boy with a broken hand for 4 rounds, right? And he still didn't wrestle. Right, he still didn't wrestle. He kept it standing with that side of things. Sean Sterling saying, "What's next for Alex?" So let's pull up the rankings. That's actually a great question with that side of things. So we'll pull up the rankings. We'll see on that side of things what's going on with that. Oh yeah, we got Ilio Topuria versus Max Holloway later this month. Who the fuck is excited for that shit? That should be fun. Wow, my black screen here is thing. So yeah, I mean, it's hard not to say Magomed Ankalaev, right? It's really hard not to say that. I think Alexander Rakic has an argument as well when it comes to that side of things. But I think with Magomed, he's put together, and I use this website too, Ranking MMA. Not sure if you guys ever use it, but it shows you a couple of their last fights as well. Let's go to light heavy. And these are unofficial rankings, but I mean, yeah, he knocked out Johnny Walker last. Yuri's obviously not. Jan obviously not. Jamal obviously not. I mean, Volkan Ozdemir is up there. I mean, he also beat Johnny Walker last. Azamat Murakhanov. That's actually, he needs to get some more good or better wins under his name. Dustin Jacoby along the field, but I mean, that's someone potentially in the hunt for that side of things as well. Yeah, never mind about Rocket. She lost it to her I just totally forgot that he fought Yuri Prohaska and got murked by Yuri. Yuri was just eating those punches and walking him down. Alexander Rakic, I don't know if you guys remember that fight against him and Yuri Prohaska. He was hitting beautiful leg kicks, and Yuri literally had no legs under him and just said, okay, I will just ignore the pain and go through hell. Got the win there. So, I mean, I think it has to be Magomed Ankalaev at this point. I mean, if he loses to Rakic, it's tough, right? I think, yeah, I mean, I would say so. I mean, I like John versus him because, I mean, he didn't get knocked out, right? And honestly, it was a close fight too, and I think Jan made a couple mistakes in that fight that he could, really bounce back up off of. So it's going to be an interesting one to see what's next for Alex Periera with that side of things as well. You know what I mean? It's really, he's kind of clearing the field. And then once you get past like the top of that division. I mean, Khalil Roundtree was number 8. Shout out to Khalil Roundtree. He kept it going. I mean, he fought a phenomenal fight tonight, but it's tough to see. I mean, past that, maybe Carlos Ulberg gets the revenge tour, right? He comes back and knocks out Pereira for Izzy. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, tough there. I mean, Menafield was 15, so you got Azamat 11. Maybe you get Azamat another fight or two for that one. And then, yeah, John gets revenge for losing to Glover with that side of things as well. But wrapping up on 35 minutes, guys. I'm going to call it a night. I've been running solo, but honestly, all you guys, thank you. Sean, 40s, got a couple people in here. Jack as well. Appreciate you guys joining in. As always, just making the video a lot better. Having a conversation, not just talking to myself. We had a good amount of people here, 38 reactions tonight. Appreciate you guys. If you're still in here, 218 or 219 on the East Coast, 118 Central, about what? 11 still. You're lucky ass motherfuckers on the West Coast. But hey, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe. I don't know, all that shit. You know what I mean? Just do it. It's free. You don't got to do that. You know what I mean? And we got a ton of content coming out. You know, every day there's something on this channel. It's kind of crazy. Fight Bananas puts out so much content. It's really kind of wild. Dave had the watch along today. He does his own show on Tuesdays. He does commentary for Island Fights. That's coming up on October 25th. Island Fights is going to be having some crazy fights after that as well. Game Bread FC in Biloxi, Mississippi. The fights on that card, if you haven't seen that, insane. Randy Costa is going to be in that card. He's fighting in the main event for the inaugural, I want to say featherweight, bare knuckle MMA championship for Game Bread. You got Chase Sherman in there. Who you got? You got a ton of people in there. That's going to be exciting. So make sure you guys check out the Game Bread card. Make sure you guys check out the Island Fights card. If you're not already checking it out, like, you're kind of sleep low key, but it's all good. I mean, you have Kevin Lee making his comeback as well, right? So we'll see that against Saul Almeida. Alex Nicholson against Frank Tate. If you guys don't know who Alex Nicholson is by now, you also better look up the Spartan. That man is murderous. Josh Weems versus Jason Knight. Jason Knight, as you know, absolute warrior with bare knuckle. So that's going to be another fun one. Charles Rosa is on the card. You have what's his name? Jesse Ronson in his last fight at Game Bread. He got a win as well. Tyler Hill, the zombie, another motherfucker that just does not care about getting punched in the face. He will run through that shit and he will keep getting punched. And I mean, that's why his nickname is a zombie. So yeah, guys, November 15th, Game Bread, bare knuckle MMA. Like I said, it's the Bantamweight world title between Randy Costa and Brandon Davis. That should be an exciting one. And before that, in Pensacola, we have Island Fights, October 25th. That should be an exciting fight as well, or exciting fights. Mix of pro and amateur competition for that one. We'll have some post-fight interviews. I'll be dropping some more of those interview clips leading up to those fights as well. But make sure you guys keep it locked in. If you're not following me on Instagram as well, I probably should use my Facebook a little bit more. But if you're not following me on Instagram, Jonathan_MMA, or just go on the Fight Bananas and look for my face on some of the interviews. They'll be there. But appreciate everybody who's been joining in. You have a great rest of your night. Sean, as always, my man. And we'll see you guys after the next fight.